So here we have ourselves an example of the astrological language coalescing karma, precision, and comedy all at once in the same package via yet another episode in the complicated life of our disgraced ex-president, the Mar-a-Lago turd, who, as I'm sure you know, through media reports, is currently embroiled in a major controversy around his mismanagement of classified government records. The types of records he was so agitated about back in 2015, 2016, and Hillary Clinton's management of her records via email. And now here he is, dealing with the same thing. And what is interesting from the astrological perspective is that you can see the topic very clearly reflected by what is being addressed and by the timing. And so when you are examining something around records in the astrology lexicon, you look to the third sign as well as to any planets that are there or that rule that sign, or if they have connections to Mercury or Gemini in any way, because Mercury and Gemini are the natural planet and sign that connect to such things as records. And the first thing you see is that in Trump's case, he has Neptune in the third sign at birth, the place for records, and that planet brings that energy in its long, many years transit. It happens to be parked in the 8th sign during these years, meaning last year, the year before, and this year as well. And now, as the problem has surfaced, so to speak, you want to establish the theme a little more by focusing on the fact that we're talking about, I guess you'd say, toilets, poop, excrement, things like that. You go to the 8th sign. That's the natural place of Scorpio. And then we look at the transits as they're happening. So Neptune is in that location. We also see Pluto in its transit opposing his Venus. And where Neptune is a resident of the third sign, Venus in his chart is the ruler of the third sign. Pluto opposing it, Pluto being a natural astrology correlation to destruction of things, which is in essence what is happening. And notice that Mercury, which is, as I said earlier, a natural connector to records as well, happens to be triggering that Pluto in the same degrees of Capricorn opposing Venus. And meanwhile, for close precision, we see that as this problem is now completely in the foreground, correlating with the moon in Gemini the last 2-3 days, so that it is triggering that Neptune directly in the 8th sign, turning on that transit that he's been under, where Neptune is squaring his sun and moon. In this case, it's coming from Gemini, but of course, Gemini, again, the sign of records, where the moon is in. So, what is really interesting about this is that, aside from the fact that it correlates so well with the planets, is that this particular topic, according to what I understand, is not all that easy to prosecute, because the government, the Department of Justice, would have to prove intent. This was in fact what saved Hillary from prosecution, because the FBI and DOJ knew that she wasn't intending to do what she did, and so therefore they would never prosecute. Trump will probably try to claim the same thing. His problem is that he is on camera, because I saw this when it happened, and of course it's been aired again. He's on camera agitating against Nancy Pelosi when she, if you recall, tore the papers up during one of those congressional meetings, and Trump was saying, this is terrible, she's breaking the law. He's breaking the law by tearing up these papers that are supposed to be kept for the citizens, in his words. So he knows the law. So there you have intent. However, it may not have enough teeth to be enforced. We'll have to find out, right? I will say that it's pretty funny, comedic again, that this explains, if you remember, this man, this sad excuse for a human being, was going around in his rallies, not once, but multiple times, repeating over and over something about how people had to flush their toilets 10 times, 15 times. Presumably, he must have been thinking he wanted more water pressure, and it sounded to me like he wanted those records to go down more quickly, you would think, right? So there's another example of both comedy and self-incriminating action, in that this is the usual Trumpian playbook. The man is like an ever perpetual fountain of projection or confession. He's doing the very things he accuses other people of doing. He's a giant hypocrite, right? Will it be enough to bring him down? I don't know if this is enough because of the way the government has treated it in the past, but it's being referred to the committee, and it could easily become part of it, at minimum. And I know his transits going into the summer and into the end of the year and into next year, there's lots of runway for all kinds of different things to get a grip and bring him down. And wouldn't it be ironic if this turned out to be a key topic?